Hey, it's Deb. Thanks for hanging out with me in my Maine Gardens kitchen. I posted a video called My Canning Confessional, which I've had a ton of response to, and it's been so fun. And it was basically kind of a little bit tongue-in-cheek confessional about what happened to me when I started canning food. And a lot of people said, oh my gosh, you totally nailed it. I can relate to this. So thank you for watching it, and thank you for your comments, and I'm really glad you enjoyed it. But anyway, as a result of that, a lot of people reached out and said, hey, I would like to get started canning and I don't know where to start. So can you just talk about how you did it? So that's why I'm here. I'm going to talk about why I started canning, how I started canning, what basic equipment you need, and how you can learn to do it so you don't hurt yourself or the people you love. That's important. I got into this year because we had a pretty large garden. We had a lot of tomatoes and peppers, and I really wanted to preserve them so we could enjoy them through the winter. In addition to that, we have apple trees, and we had a boatload of apples. I gave a lot away, ate a lot, but there was still so many. So I thought it would be so cool to make applesauce or something like that, apple jam. So that's kind of what got me started. So when I wanted to get started, I did my homework, and I found a couple of really good websites, and there's a lot of resources out there. University of Maine Cooperative Extension has a whole section on food preservation and canning. USDA has a whole section on canning. Ballmasonjars.com has a lot of information on their site about canning. So those are three places you can start. And then there are Facebook groups that I've joined that are kind of fun. People share recipes. People will post a photo of something they just canned, and there might be air bubbles or something, and they kind of ask the group, does this look right to you? And people will comment, and people share recipes and such. So there's two ways to can. One is water bath canning. That's what I do. And I would recommend that if you're new to this, that's where you start. Then there's pressure canning, where you use like a pressure canner. That was obvious. And you use that to seal your jars and your food. That's like the graduate school of canning. I'm not there yet, but next year I might get a pressure canner. Water bath canning is so simple. It's exactly what it sounds like. You're basically gonna heat up water and put these in and let them bathe in the hot boiling water, and that preserves the ingredients and seals your jars. You might be wondering, well, what's the difference in terms of what can I can, water bath canning or pressure canning? Water bath canning works for foods that are high in acidity. So most of your fruits, your jams, tomatoes, apples, beets, I've done beets, work well with water bath canning. Sometimes you have to add extra acid, and you'll see that in the recipes. So recipes might call for adding, with the tomatoes, I added a little citric acid. Some may call for adding vinegar. It's all in the recipe. Non-acidic foods, meats, for example, you can can using a pressure canner. So you can can a greater variety of foods using a pressure canner. But for my needs, water bath canning is perfect. So what do you need? First thing you need is a big honkin' pot. Funny story. I actually found that pot at an estate sale 2 summers ago in Maine for $10. I didn't know what I was gonna use it for, but I realized it's the perfect canning pot, and that's probably what they used it for. So you need a honkin' pot. Then, when you put your jars in, you're gonna have water. I've got water heating up in that right now, and you need to have enough water in it to cover your jars. But you can't set your jars directly on the bottom of the pot. That's bad, because they can break. So you need something to separate, to lift the jars up from the bottom of the pot. That's what this contraption is for, all right? So the jars sit like that, okay? If you don't have one of these, you can also put a towel at the bottom, but These are easy to find, very inexpensive, and it's a great way to lift them out, stick them in, lift them out, stick them in, and it protects the jars from breaking. So easy to find. The other thing you need is one of these contraptions, which is your little jar lifter thing. This is what you're gonna use to pull the jars out, put the jars in. Pull the jars out, put them in. You can also use this, but I kind of use a combination of both. And then it's helpful to have a funnel, one of these canning funnels. So when you're filling your jars with food, it's not nearly as messy. Those are kind of all you need. And then it's good to have something to debubble. So you're like, okay, what the heck are you talking about debubbling? Once you get your food in the jar, you want to go around like this, kind of push it in and get the air bubbles out. You want to get as many of the air bubbles out as possible because those air bubbles will rise. And if you have too many air bubbles in there, it might affect your seal. So you can also use something like this a little spatch. Whatever it is, you want to be sure it's clean. You want to be sure it's not going to break off in your jar. The other thing you need, obviously, are jars. Probably should have started with that. I'm using the ball mason jars only because they're very easy to find and it's kind of the traditional jar that people use in canning. There are other varieties out there, but I'm happy with these. And they come in different sizes, which is really cool. So you want to pick a size that works best for whatever it is you're canning. For example, for these Roma tomatoes, I wanted a large jar, and so I used a big quart jar. For the pears, I went with a pint. This is like a half pint. This is a half pint, different shape. And this is your kind of little bitty jar. This size is great for gifting. It's also great if you're making something that when you open it, you're not going to consume it quickly. So I've got pepper jelly in here. Think about that. You know, once you open this jam, if you're opening it for yourself, are you going to, I wouldn't put jam in it, in one of these. Doesn't make sense. But yeah, think about how quickly you're going to consume something once you open it, and that might dictate the size of jar you choose to use. They're pretty easy to find. I've got all of these ingredients. This, my jars, and this at my local hardware store. They have a little canning section. Everything was there. So shout out to Erickson's Hardware. They've been great. And it doesn't cost much to start. So those are the things that I started with, and I can talk more about lessons I've learned so far. But check out those websites. There are videos everywhere online, of course, with canning tips and tricks. And I'll come back and give you more of those. But for now, just wanted to give you kind of a beginner's guide to how to get started canning. And I would just encourage you to do it. It's really fun, and you'll learn as you go. So yeah. Thanks for hanging out with me in my Maine kitchen. I'm making applesauce next. And it smells so good because I've got apples that have been cooking in the crock pot all day long. And I'm gonna just mush them up and can them up, and it's gonna be fabulous. All right, I'll talk to you later. Thanks for hanging out.